Hey everybody, it's me, Mr. McGoldrick. So what I'm going to do here is this is sort of my explanation for you all of the Manifest Destiny work. So here I am. This is my our computer room, if you will, at home, which is really just the changing table for our baby. So anyways, we're going to go through this Manifest Destiny work. Like I said, I'm going to explain each one of these, and as I do, um, I'll fill out the notes for you so you can check it against yours. This way, this will sort of allow you to um, make sure that you know what's going on with each one of these. By the time I've given you this, this work will have already been due. So this is really just a way for you to check over what you've done. Okay, hope you guys are all doing okay at home, and that you are enjoying social distancing as much as you can. Anyways, I want to try to put everything in Buccaneer Maroon here. So let's start off with Manifest Destiny itself. So Manifest Destiny was this idea that came about in the 1800s. And the basic idea here is the idea that America should rule North America from Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. So if you look at a map of America today, you'll actually see that that's exactly what has happened. If you think of New Jersey as being all the way on the East Coast, this is my East, I guess that's your East, and California on the West Coast of the Pacific, the U.S. has stretched between both of these oceans. And that was the goal during this time. So the belief was that America, not only should they rule this entire continent, basically from, originally from Texas, above Texas, to where Canada is now, but now obviously we have Texas. But everything in between those two oceans belonged to America because, in the words of the Manifest Destiny believers, God said that America should do this, that it was our God given right to control these lands. Okay? And that's an important thing to note. This was a God given right. All right? So, that is sort of the driving force behind everything that we're going to see happening in the next couple of, we'll say like 2 weeks probably. We'll see how this whole thing goes. Okay. The Treaty of Fort Laramie. Okay. So to begin, Fort Laramie was an army fort. Okay. I'll specify U.S. Army fort in the Midwest. Okay. The treaty ended wars with the Native Americans, right? Those are the people that we refer to as Los Nativos. So it ends the war between the natives and the Americans. At the time, there was a war called the Black Hawk War that was going on between the Black Hawk people in the Midwest and the Americans. The treaty says no more fighting. Okay. It also gives specific Midwestern lands, and I'm going to hold a map up to you as best as I can to the screen so you can see the map that's out of one of the textbooks that I use. And that'll sort of give you a better idea of just about where Midwestern lands to the natives. Okay, so it's this agreement that you're not going to attack us, we're not going to attack you. We'll just agree to stop fighting each other, which is a great thing if they listened to it. At times it did, at other times they did not. So I'll kind of show you here as best as I can. Let's see. Yeah, that's a little difficult to see, but if you look right up in here, you'll see this is the Great Plains. Okay, so just for context, down here, this general area here, well, I'm sorry, I'm doing the best I can here, is Texas. Okay, and then as you go up north, you get into some more of those Midwestern states, Cheyenne. So you've got yourself Wyoming, the Dakotas are right here, and this you see Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Seminole, the 5 tribes. They're all there in the southern plains. Missouri's here, so all of those lands were specified to be native lands. It's not going to last very long, is what we'll find out, but that was what the Treaty of Fort Laramie said. You can still go to Laramie. I believe it is in, let me double check, but I believe Fort Laramie is in Wyoming, if memory serves correct. I could be wrong. I'll have to look that up. Next up, we have the trails. Okay, so there's 2 specific trails that I asked you to look up. The first is the Santa Fe Trail. And so this is a trail for American travelers. Oop, I forgot. I'm trying to do maroon here. It's a trail for American travelers heading west. Along the southern U.S. border. Okay, so Santa Fe, as many of you may know, is in New Mexico, excuse me. So the Santa Fe Trail started out in Santa Fe, which is now New Mexico, and it went west across the Colorado River. And it ended in modern day, well, and it was Los Angeles at the time, but it ends in Los Angeles. And this was one of the famous ways that people would take this trail, and it was a path that everybody knew. So you would buy a guidebook, and it would tell you exactly where to turn, where to go, and that's how people would make it out to Los Angeles. Now, similarly, we look at the Oregon Trail. Now, this is perhaps the most famous of all of the Western trails. So the Oregon Trail started out in Independence, Missouri, which was like the first stop, and it made it all the way out to a fort in Oregon. And that's how one of the most famous ways that people traveled. It was like a modern day highway. So this was a trail for American travelers heading northwest from Missouri to Oregon. Okay. Now, to summarize both of these trails, it was incredibly arduous. Arduous is a fancy pants word meaning really hard to do. People would get sick. People could get bitten by snakes. There was all sorts of sicknesses. There was all sorts of animal type of dangers that were out there. You could run out of food. You could have your belongings stolen by, highwaymen. They would be called bandits or robbers. You could get lost. There's all sorts of different things that could happen while you're going out there that made it really difficult to do. So unlike today's highways, you weren't guaranteed to be able to make it to where you're going. If you hop on the parkway and you need to go to Tom's River, you can pretty much be assured you're going to be able to get there because it's a lot safer than the Santa Fe Trail or the Oregon Trail. When I was a kid, we used to go to the library to use the computers there, and one of the games that you could borrow from the library while you were there was the Oregon Trail, and it was one of the most fun games going. And I actually have a link if anybody would like to try and play it. I have a link for you, and you can try to make it out to the Oregon Trail. It's kind of fun. Anyways, Mormons. Okay, so the Mormons, capital Mormons, were a religious group who were forced to leave New York and Illinois and helped settle modern day Utah. Okay, so the reason that they left New York and Illinois, as it were, was because they were a persecuted group. Mormons are they're a Christian group who had their own specific beliefs. One of which early on was what's called a polygamy. I'll type that in here so you can see polygamy. Is that how you spell it? Nope. Polygamy. Okay. So polygamy was having multiple wives. Okay. Or I guess it could also be husbands, but in this case, it was specifically one man could have as many wives as he chose. The leader, the original leader of the Mormons was Joseph Smith, founder of the Mormon Church, better known. Actually, I shouldn't say better known. Originally called the. Let me get this name right. Yep, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Okay. Today, you might hear it referred to as the LDS Church, which just means Latter-day Saints. He is the one who created this idea. He just very quickly had a dream where an angel came to him and told him to move west. And if he were going to follow, I believe it was the magic hat that he saw, and it took him, eventually it took him to Illinois, and then under the persecution, because polygamy it's a crime. It's illegal to have multiple spouses. I think in most every state in the U.S. at this point, but not all of them. So he follows the magic hat and ends up on the banks of the Salt Lake, which was at the time full of sulfur and had this really bad smell to it. So it wasn't considered a great place to live, but they set up there. And if you go to Salt Lake City today, the overwhelming majority of people who live there are members of the LDS Church, the Mormons. Brigham Young, okay, so Brigham Young was another major leader of the Mormons. He takes charge, meaning so he's in charge after Joseph Smith, passes away. Okay. So he is considered the next biggest leader, most important leader of the Mormon Church. Even today, if you follow college sports at all, the school BYU is named. It's Brigham Young University. It's named after Brigham Young. I don't know if Joseph Smith has any schools named after him. As far as I know, he does not. And then the final one is called 54, 40, or Fight. Now, this one is it's what we call a rallying cry. So a rallying cry is like if you follow a soccer team and there's like a phrase that they will, shout or something. So like this team that my dad used to follow in Ireland, it was from one of the counties that of Ireland. They would shout, and the name of it was Mayo. So you would say "Up Mayo," and that was the rallying cry. So it was. Sorry, we have guests. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. This is the changing room, so I didn't think we needed to see my son's diaper getting changed on our first online lesson, did we? I didn't think so. Um, Anyways, so back to 5440, your fight. So the rallying cry is what they used to try to get people to rally for their war. In this case, they were talking about going to war with England against England. Sorry, against England for control over what was called the Oregon Territory. Sorry, I got a misspelling here. Territory. Okay. So the idea here was to get people to want to be angered by the fact that England was supposed to have left the Oregon Territory, and it was, they believed, anyways, that that was specifically for the Americans to rule. Now, we never ended up having to fight over the Oregon Territory. Eventually, so if you think of the west coast of the US, there's California, there's Oregon, and then there's Washington State. And then above Washington State is Canada. At the time, Canada was owned by the English, the British. So this time period here, we see the Americans driving the British out of what they believed was their land, and that's how we actually came to take over this area. Now, 5440 actually is a reference to where on the map Oregon is. So I'll open up. What I'll do here is I'll open up 54, 40, or fight. And so what we'll do is I'll Google search here. I'll find you a map. So here it is. Phrase commonly used by extremists in the controversy with Great Britain over the Oregon country. The rights of the United States they maintained extended to the whole region to the latitude 54 degrees north Oh, Russian boundary. Okay, that's news to me. So let's look at images here. So here it is. Okay, maybe this one's even better. So we'll open this one up here. Here we go. Oh, that's not a great one. View. Okay, let's see here. Sorry, this is the first one I'm ever doing, so I don't need Pinterest. Oh, that stinks. Open new tab. Let's see. Come on. Okay, so what you can see right here, this line here, right? If you look where underneath where it says Oregon, that is the current dividing line between Oregon and Canada, I believe. I wish I could see more of this so I could tell you. It's really tricky. Sorry. Check this one here. 49th parallel. These are interesting maps for sure. Okay, so this, if you look here, the 5440 line, that is where the U.S. is going to extend to, or they believe they're supposed to extend to. Um, if you look, though, that it's actually not. Sorry, everyone. This is sort of like a. I don't know why I'm not getting a good map. I just want the easy map. Um, okay. Let's try one more thing for you. Here's what I want. This is what I want. I want actually a list, a map that you can actually read. This is what, yeah, okay, boom. This is exactly what I was looking for to explain it better. Perfect, yes. Okay, so if you look at this line right here, okay, where it starts in, and I hope you can see my cursor, this green line. So if you come all the way down here to the rightmost part here, this is the current day northern border of the United States. Some people believed that this, all of this right here, was supposed to be ours, meaning the United States possession. The agreement was for this right here originally. All of this under here was a shared territory between the U.S. and and England, going back to the American Revolution. But the Americans wanted it further north. We never ended up going to war over this, but some of this area up here we ended up buying from Russia. But currently, all of this here that you see is Canada. I'm sorry it took me so long to find a good map, but this is the one that I was looking for. This hopefully makes it make a lot more sense to you. So anyways, I'll go back here. I hope that this sort of helps smooth out any questions you may have had. I hope I didn't go too fast for you all, but hopefully this will sort of help. This is one of the better ways that I have to explain what we have going on here while we're doing this. Hope you guys are all doing really well. I miss you guys. Hope you are able to get all this stuff done and keep up with everything. And hopefully I'll see you guys real soon. Okay? Bye-bye.